So I feel like I failed to highlight some of the more common plants in one's collection, and this is a Crassula ovata, although I believe it's called Crosby's compact. It's a more compact version of Crassula, and this is known as the common jade plant. I mean, it's one that you see in basically a window of any shop, or your grandparents probably had it, or your mom had it, and now you have it. And there are so many different types of cultivars and varieties. There's ones with like deeper kind of pink and white variegation that you could find. There's ones with these like little red tips. Mind you, if you keep this in full sun, highlight, bright light, that it will start to redden up the leaves a little bit. One of the common things that happen with Crassulas, and that you might notice, especially as they start to get a little woodier, and this one does have some little woody bits down here, although I don't know if you could actually see it, is that they start getting these little crystals, like little, I think that's them pushing out some of the salt or the fertilizer, and creating this kind of like little dusty kind of mixture that emerges out of the leaves, so that, or out of some of the pores of the plant that you might actually see. These are common plants that you would see being put into bonsais, and there's been some really beautiful ones. There's actually one in a tattoo parlor not too far from my house that is just so ginormous, and it's like literally hefted, pressed up against the window. You might have noticed a really beautiful Crassula ovata that was in the Houseplant Home Makeover one that I did with Damon, probably a number of months back, that you could actually see. Great episode, by the way, so if you haven't seen the Houseplant Home Makeovers series yet, then definitely go and see that if you did miss it. Anyway, you could tell from this plant that it is a very succulent one. It has this kind of nice cuticular shine to it. So this would tell me that this is a plant that does not mind being in some full sun, some high direct light. So giving it a little bit more of a southern or a western exposure is going to be great. If you're somebody who has the dreaded north-facing windows, and I'm talking about people who are in the Northeast, then you know what? You might actually have to get it a grow light. And in order for it to remain kind of compact, you're going to want to constantly kind of clip it and just kind of keep it a little bit more of a bushy shape. But if you don't mind that and you have the space, then kind of let it sprawl out all over, because these could get like beasts. I kind of feel like the biggest ones, if you go to like Chinatown and you go into some Chinese shops or restaurants, then you'll see some giant ones there that have been probably growing for like 50 years or have been in the family for like 50 to 100 years. I would say that as far as fertilizing this goes, you don't need something that it's not like going to be too heavy of a fertilizer. I would say giving it a succulent fertilizer like a 247 or a 347 once a month is going to be perfectly fine. Do it during in the growing season, however, because in the winter it's probably going to slow down its growth. You really can't see here, but you'll see that I have it in a really kind of airy mixture. I have a lot of perlite in my succulent mixtures, so I'm a big believer of adding a little bit more airiness into your cacti and your succulent mix. As far as pest pressures, one of the biggest and most common problems, one that I haven't had with my Crassulas, is mealy bugs. And that is just going to be a constant battle for you unless you actually bring in a little bit more of like biological or beneficial insects, or if you're just constantly on top of it. Now, if you have some clean pieces of your Crassula, then you're going to want to maybe take some tip cuttings. I do believe that leaf cuttings work. I had one that kind of came out of a leaf cutting, but to me, the tip cuttings and getting a little bit of the stem is much easier to root than a leaf cutting. I just kind of find that the leaf cuttings for Crassula, for me, take a much longer time, much longer than if you had like some certain kalanchoe or something of that nature. So, but anyway, I think this is like, one of those common plants that I just overlooked with 365 days of plants, but I think it's really important to be able to highlight because it's one of those ones that people find in their collections all the time.